It's 6:05. This is the commencement of the June 15th Public Safety Meeting. Item number 1 is the approval of the previous minutes. Accept the motion and accept those.
Yep, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2 is an order by Jim Leahy. Order that the City Council invite District Attorney Anthony Galini in to discuss the panhandling in the city of Holyoke. I believe that this is not a homeless issue, but more of a trafficking issue similar to sex trafficking. The DA's office, Anthony called me today and was very respectful and suggested that it might not be a good idea for him to come in and address these issues pending some ongoing investigations. He would prefer that we might want to speak to the chief of police to discuss these issues that are directly relative to the city of Holyoke. He also stated that, these ongoing investigations may not be reflective of the order, but certainly that any issues surrounding panhandling and any investigations going around that throughout the Hamden County, he would prefer not to discuss them in case there's any issues going on that he does not want to make public at that time. So I would make a motion that we table this and then perhaps modify it to invite the chief of police in.
I just say a couple things?
Sure. Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. The reason that I filed this order is quite frankly out of compassion. Panhandling and homeless, the two words that have been going kind of hand in hand for some time now in the city of Holyoke. And this has been kind of a unique, it's certainly not unique. However, it's happening here in Holyoke. It's not happening in other towns or whatnot. Speaking with some people some time ago, and one of the things I noticed was how organized it seems to be in the city of Holyoke. And it also seems to be very organized in other communities as well. So it got me thinking. So that's why I wanted to bring in the district attorney. But as Councilor Bresnan said, he spoke to him. I have a call into him, and myself, Councilor Bresnan, will be meeting with him shortly. There could be some ongoing investigations going on, so that's what he had told Councilor Bresnan, why he's not coming tonight. So I certainly don't want to impede any of those. What I do want to do is find out if this is human trafficking. If it is, what are we going to do about it? If these people are out there against their will, it's certainly not a thing that I want to happen. I think this is similar to the sex trafficking. Doing some research in Stanford, came out with a PowerPoint presentation about human trafficking and exactly how much money is to be made. And unfortunately, the people who are standing for 8 hours, 12 hours in the heat or the cold on the city streets don't pocket the majority of that money. It goes on to the higher ups. It goes on to the people who are either going to beat them up or intimidate them with sexual assault. It's absolutely something that boggles my mind. And I think that we have to get down to the root of it. Worldwide, it's a $32 billion industry of human trafficking. One of the definitions for human trafficking when panhandling is they also call it labor trafficking, which is includes hair salons, construction, small businesses, agriculture, janitorial, door-to-door sales, and panhandling. It's in there. And in these groups, or this national group of the National Human Trafficking, they monitor this, and they have a hotline, and they're out there to help people. They go after men, and they go after women. They put them out in the street, and they either threaten violence or sexual assault. So the crux to this, because I've gotten a lot of phone calls and Facebook messages and that sort of thing, why am I doing this? It's not because of anything but more than just compassion. These people are outside on city streets for a long period of time, and so it just has to be better organized or more organized than that we thought it could be. As Council President said, I think that I'm gonna make a motion to table this and have the Chief of Police come in, and maybe he's probably the better one to answer some of the questions that we have. So I guess, having said that, I make a motion to table it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next order on the agenda is that, filed by me, order that any cuts in the fire department staff or apparatus, that the fire commissioners and the chief come before the Public Safety Committee to discuss any and all plans to address any and all brown blackouts within the Holyoke Fire Department. Please, gentlemen, thank you.
Should we also maybe take up item 5 too at the same time? Or no?
Yes. Make a motion.
Make a motion to take up item 5 as well?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Item number 5, in tandem, is that the law department review who has the authority to take an apparatus offline. This order is due to the fire commissioner's intentions to take an engine offline permanently under the reorganization plan the fire commissioners are attempting to implement, having that the last blackout in the city of Holyoke required the city council approval approximately in the year 1976. So gentlemen, I absolutely want to just start off by saying thank you for coming down. And it looks like from the agendas coming forward, this may be our last public discussion about it. I know you guys have a meeting in the 21st that's going to address this as well. And I know you guys worked all day, and I appreciate that. This is not going to be a berate movement. We just want to get a couple points clarified as a public safety committee. And I respect what you guys do. I'm a huge fan of the fire department. For years, I have been. But we're going to keep this as calm and professional and I will ensure that takes place. So I guess the first order that's before us is that before any brownouts take place, you come to us to talk about it a little bit. I guess the fireman's lingo, it sometimes gets difficult for even some of us that have worked with the fire department. I guess, to start off, maybe if one of you could talk about, what we have right now and what our intentions are. And, I've seen a couple of drafts of the reorganization plan. It's a little difficult to follow. So if there's anything that we can make it simpler, so the public knows that this is what we have now, this is what we're going to do, and where these engines and trucks may be stationed. I mean, that would be great. And I offer it to anyone.
Good evening, and thank you for having us down here. During the budget hearing, we went over this, I thought, at length. I emailed this plan to Ryan to put out to city councilors, and I actually dropped one off to Councilor Graney's house. In a nutshell, the plan is increasing firefighter safety by assigning more firefighters to apparatus. Currently, we have 7 pieces of apparatus. We will go down to 6 pieces of apparatus. 4 of those pieces of apparatus will have 4 people assigned, and the other 2 will have 5 people assigned to it, thus increasing firefighters on apparatus. In the plan, when the plan was put out, it was in March. That was before we hired the 10 new firefighters. Well, they've recently been put online, so now we actually have quite a few. So the plan is basically in stages where it could be implemented yesterday. We're currently at 81 firefighters, and the plan calls for 82.
So in other words, we're going to lose an engine, and we're going to put, instead of having 3 on 7, we're going to have 4 on 6.
It'll be 4.
Not the number 6. I'm saying 6 apparatus.
Right. Right now, a lot of these we're at 3s,
Right.
because we're down staffing because engine 6 is operational. When engine 6 is out, we'll take those additional personnel and spread them out. So instead of having 3 people assigned of some of the apparatus, all will have a minimum of 4 assigned, and then 2 will have a minimum of 5 assigned to it. And as far as coverage, as I mentioned before, Engine 1 and Engine 2 are in the same firehouse. They leave from the same firehouse. The response is the same. So that's why the response time is not going to change, because as you saw in ISO, it's that 1.5 mile radius for first due engine company. So that was the reason why Engine 2 was able to be browned out intermittently, in order to give us the flexibility to keep, people in the seats and cut back on overtime. So instead of playing the intermittent game, let's just put people where they belong. We can increase firefighters on duty by putting them on more, on less apparatus to respond. So if people come into work, you're going to have 5 people on truck 1 and 4 on engine 1, and you're going to have a deputy chief. So when they go to a call, those 2 pieces go together. They're going to get there first, and you're going to have 9 firefighters and a deputy instead of 6. So that's the plan. And this is along the lines of the NFPA 1710.
Now, when you say if people come into work, what does that mean?
Well, people have vacation time, sick time, union days, incentive days, whatever time they take off.
Do you think there's any sort of like abuse of those days in and out, days off?
Those are contractual obligations to the city.
Okay, so I guess my question would be, since we haven't done this since the 70s, is there something what in the city of Holyoke's dynamics have changed? I don't know that the population has. I don't know that, this could be a brilliant idea, and I say this with love in my heart. I just don't understand how, why any of your predecessors since 1976 haven't thought this plan out, where it says, our population has been at 40,000 people for 15, 20 years. So have we been operating over budget with the Holyoke Fire Department since 1976, or is there something else I'm missing?
When headquarters was built, it was combining Station 1 and Station 2, and it covers most of that area that those 2 stations covered before. I know Councilor Sullivan's always looking at the 156 firefighters and all that stuff in the ordinance, or whatever. Charter, okay. And that was, the city of Holyoke at one point was up to 60,000 population. Firefighters are going around with horse and buggies putting out fires. It's 2017. Firefighters are much more trained in 2017. We have much better equipment in 2017. So you have to think about that. Why this didn't happen before? Maybe they didn't want to go through what I'm going through right now. Trying to make change is difficult. And I said at the last meeting, I do not mind making change. That's why I was hired to run the fire department, to make change and do it the right way. And that's why this plan is out here. This is my plan to put forward. It's a resolution to the problem that we were having with overtime, because I got tired of coming in here and it was, overtime, right? It was a big to-do. I was trying to keep as much fire protection as possible. That's another one of my jobs. But now we're to the point where this is the best resolution for what we have right now for resources. And I can tell you, we have many more firefighters per apparatus than most communities around us. I can tell you that for sure.
Currently, right now, you mean?
Yes.
So the neighboring communities like Westfield and Chicopee that are larger than us?
Less firefighters.
Less.
Chicopee has more. Westfield has less. Westfield runs an ALS ambulance service as well. We do not run an ambulance service. So these are factors that have all been put in here.
Commissioner, please.
Yes, from the commission's perspective, I just want to note some differences back in the 1970s versus where we are today. We have qualitative and quantitative data to support a lot of our decision-making through Deputy Chief Preskopowski, the chief. We have much better data to go by. And as a fire commissioner, I can't speak for my other commissioners, but I look pretty closely at every fire. If I'm not there, then I get the report from the chief, and the chief and I communicate pretty regularly. So I can tell you that the commission has not made up its mind. We have a meeting on the 21st. There's going to be a robust discussion of the facts. And that's basically what we're going to look at. And certainly use our best judgment and what's best for the city and what's best for the citizens. And I take that very seriously personally, having been a first responder in this community for many, many years. I've been to many fires. I've taken care of many police officers and firefighters with not some good outcomes. So I get it. And I've been a commissioner for 6 years. And I take each and every time I come in front of this council very seriously. And I do not take lightly firefighter safety or the citizens of this city. Again, it's reality. I historically based my decisions on fact. So that's the way I was trained, and that's what I plan on doing. And we have an excellent command staff. We have, I saw Chief when he was a private. In fact, I did a little bit of training with him on CPR and different things. So I know his capabilities, and I know the capabilities of the command staff and also the officers and firefighters of this department. So I'm confident that, again, as Chief said, what fire chief in the country would not like to have all the resources they have? So, again, I've been here for 5 different budgets this year. Commissioner Lumbra and Commissioner Garcia participated in the budget sessions to give them a perspective. So, again, we're going to have a robust discussion on the 21st.
Just one last question on this order. So, Chief, the budget you asked for this year was for 88 firefighters, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, had you gotten those 88 firefighters, would we even be having, if the mayor supplied the 88 firefighters to your budget, would this discussion be taking place?
It depends if the city council decided to cut firefighters' positions or overtime. So I'd still have the budget hearing, so it would go to that process. If you're asking, will 88 firefighters and the $600,000 overtime cover us for the year, it's a projected amount. It's projected to cover that, but you never know what could happen during the process during the fiscal year. So,
And again, I'm not questioning
No.
your any of your expertise, because I know you guys have it, but from just like, it would seem logical to me that if you had 88 firefighters, the overtime would not be as high, or because it seems that we're going to lower the firefighters, because we're going to have 82, right? Because we have 72, and we're getting 10 from that SAFER grant,
correct.
which will put us at 82. And it seems like 88's always been the magic number for the last few budgets. The fire department wanted 88 firefighters, which the mayor has chosen to cut. We rarely cut really anything from fire department at all. So, I mean, I'm just trying to. I mean, if we were to talk to the mayor and say, could we cut things from other line items in this budget and provide the fire department with 88 firefighters? Is that something, I mean?
If you're going to add to my budget, like I said, there's not a fire chief in the country that wouldn't want more resources. I will take the amount of resources you can give me. What this plan is the bottom line. That's it. This is where we should be sitting. That's what this is about. And that's to give you a number so you know where you're at.
But I mean, are you basing those numbers on monetary issues? Or are you basing the numbers on the fact that the city of Holyoke doesn't need that engine anymore?
The fact that the city doesn't need that engine anymore, and it'll be appropriately staffed, and the department will be right-sized at this level.
Any questions? I'm ready to give this. This is good for me. Howie just said he thought the meeting was at 6:30. If anybody can address that in the audience, please.
It's online for 6. Yeah, thank
Councilor
you.
Leahy, please.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much. So if I'm pulling up the plan here, and this is the PowerPoint that you had sent us out. Is this what you guys are referencing?
Sir.
Okay, so it looks like, all right, so right now we have engines. So we have 3 engines, right? Engine 1, 3, and 6. Is that correct?
You have 5 in there as well. We have 1, 2,
Okay,
3.
But
5 and
5
6.
is segregated. It's,
5 is a quint, but it's considered an engine in ISO standards.
oh, okay, so, all right, I just want to know this. 1, 3, 5, and 6. And what's the definition of a quint?
A quint is a combination of an engine and a ladder truck.
Okay. And then, then we also have two ladders, right? We have an aerial ladder and we have a platform,
platform.
and that's what it is?
Two
It's a
trucks.
platform compared to a ladder?
Correct.
Yep, okay. And,
There are pictures of it in the back of the plan.
yeah, I'm looking at those.
Reference
So
to.
what happened to the, I've been here long enough where I voted for it. The small trucks that, we were told that they're going to go down the alleyways and, so we didn't have to send out, one of the engines.
TAC vehicles,
Yeah. I don't see those in this
we're
plan.
phasing those TAC vehicles out. They need to be replaced.
Why,
They're 15 years old now. Yeah,
so what's the lifespan of a truck?
it's a Ford F-550 pickup truck, so,
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
being run all the time,
yeah.
15 years.
And,
huh?
and as was brought up in the budget hearing, that we have Action Ambulance doing EMS calls, so I don't really want to take personnel off of an engine or a truck, put that out of service to jump on that and then go to a call. I'd rather have that respond if it's the nature of the call.
And how are they doing? I mean, kind of off topic, but,
They're doing well. They're responding in less than 6 minutes to the calls on average, so it's working out well.
and what's the factory at, or not the factory, but what time do you want it at? 6 minutes? Are you happy with that?
6 is actually good. It's 8 minutes max. 6 is really good. I prefer 4 or 5 minutes, but we'll get to that point at some time.
Yeah. All right, so, looking through your PowerPoint, I got a chance to look at it as well earlier. It's kind of I think Danny had said it was a little bit confusing as well. There's a lot of numbers here, so I guess, let me ask you this, what's the final endpoint? What's the key takeaway from here? So you have like engine 1, 12 firefighters, 3 lieutenants, 2 captains. That's the current staffing now. We'll just take, engine 1 for an example. Then the future is going to go, so it's hard to see. So that's going to stay the same. It's going to be 12 firefighters, 3 lieutenants, and actually you're adding a captain there? No, you're keeping the same, 2 captains,
It's adding a captain.
adding a captain. Now, what's the purpose for that?
Now, when an officer's off, that a firefighter would act out of grade. Having an additional officer there is going to be able to move that officer around on any piece of apparatus where another officer is off on the day.
Okay. Say if a captain is off on sick time or whatnot, can a firefighter, so I guess a lieutenant would jump up to a captain and a firefighter would jump up to a lieutenant? Is that how it works?
No, it wouldn't. You wouldn't have to there. Just the lieutenant would jump over in the captain's seat
All right,
as a regular duty.
so we're golden if we have 12 firefighters. If nobody calls in sick or vacation.
Right.
And so a lieutenant or a captain, if they're sick, that doesn't change anything?
If they're,
Say if a lieutenant or a captain calls in sick,
it wouldn't change anything, right? You still have the 5 or the 4 on that piece of apparatus.
all right, I know Anthony Soto was always big in asking this question. Are we still having drivers for the deputy, or the chiefs?
That would be a deputy's aide, not a deputy's driver. And the deputy's aide has been eliminated,
Oh, it has?
yes.
All right, wherever he is throughout this world, I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that.
Well, I mean, if there are additional personnel on here, the deputy could detail a person over to be the aide. Even if you look in NFPA standards, it has a deputy's aide because you need somebody to help the incident commander on a fire ground operate the fire ground. It's a vital position. but
Okay,
with-
so let me ask you this, if you don't mind, just for the interest of time. So I'm looking, a slide, I think 8 out of 14.
14.
What exactly are the big key takeaways from this plan, from what you want to where you were?
Well, the key takeaways, and I'm glad you pointed that out on page 14, is there's a 0 reduction in fire department personnel. And in fact, this plan actually adds to the fire department because we're adding 4 additional firefighters and a lieutenant above last year's budget. And this is going to give us more people on apparatus. The mayor's been here, well, as long as I have now, 5, 6 years. There's never been a layoff in the fire department. There's never been a demotion in the fire department. So I don't know where all that's coming from, where people are, going crazy. People are, oh, we're not having enough people. Nobody's ever been laid off. We continue to hire people. We continue to promote in the fire department. And then, as I mentioned early on, the capacity to have more firefighters initially on scene on one piece of apparatus is vital to the importance of getting tasks done when you arrive on scene. So,
It may be Deputy Chief Priskopowski, because he reviews every fire with the command staff and the captain. So every fire is critiqued. Is that correct?
Every fire is critiqued. I respond as a safety officer, ensuring that we have enough companies on scene, that they're operating safely, that we're, utilizing our resources correctly. And then we go over these calls afterwards, and we learn from the mistakes that we've made. That's the only way we can move forward, and we take it very seriously. The safety of our men is paramount, and we never had safety officers responding to fires before until I got into this position. I've been to every major alarm fire so far since we've been doing this, ensuring that safety measures are taken. So I think that should be taken into account also with this report.
That's all I have, yeah.
So how many officers are on apparatus with this plan?
how many?
How many officers will be on each apparatus on this plan?
There's going to be at least one officer on every shift, on every piece of apparatus on every shift, and then there's a couple extra lieutenants and captains to fill in slots if need be. And we'll be able to take those officers and move them around to where we can fill in gaps too.
So, I mean, the standard is to have more than one officer on an apparatus?
It's not standard, it's my plan.
And does the officer actually have an oxygen tank and is ready to go?
Yes.
Okay.
There's enough seats for everybody on the apparatus, and then, as I said, if the deputy chief on duty wants to have an aide for that day and there's additional personnel, that, especially for an officer, if there's an extra officer, I guess that's probably where you're going, he can be with the deputy chief for that day and learn how to do some command stuff and how to reset panels, boxes, and everything. So it'll help him improve in his career as well.
Counselor Graney?
Yeah, thanks for coming down, Chief. I apologize for being late. Deputy Chief, Commissioner.
He doesn't read his emails.
Yeah, well, emails, schmeemails. I just got one question.
Sir.
All three or one of the three can answer it. Under this plan, this new plan, do you have a great deal of confidence that the safety of our residents and the safety of our men are going to be maximized? And if there are any modifications that you see as we work through the plan, are you willing to come in and make those modifications before the council?
I have full confidence in this plan, and if there are any issues or any concerns, I will definitely address it with the mayor and the city council. So I have no problems coming in and letting you know.
And Counselor, as far as the commission's concerned, we're quite active with the chief and the deputies and in hearing about any issues. So, of course, we'll be very responsive to the council, and certainly Deputy Chief Preskopowski and the command staff keep very close eye on safety and as far as our operations for the city. And if our financial situation changed, and certainly the next budget season, that's totally on the table.
Well, you guys are the professionals, so if you have the confidence, certainly I have confidence in you.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I'm glad you guys said that, and I'll feel safe. I'm just concerned. I don't want to hear public safety talking about financial issues. I don't personally. I don't think you need to worry about. We need to worry about where the money is. You need to worry about where the safety is. That's why you guys do what you do. Same thing with the police department. Fire departments and police departments have been coming before the city council for decades, looking for more money. I mean, it's the mayor's issue and it's a city council issue to figure out how we're going to get you that money. I respect the fact that you guys are considerate of that, but I'm sure a taxpayer that owns a home is more concerned that, I want to be clear that This engine is being blacked out, not for financial reasons, but I continue to hear the financial word. I want it to be made publicly clear, or in a minimum to me, that I'm safe, my family's safe. It has nothing to do with finances. This has everything to do with the fact that the fire department has been overmanned and has had too many apparatuses for a long enough time that we're going to reorganize it. And I respect that. I'm fine with it. This is the last conversation ultimately we'll probably have about that. I don't want to hear that, we're trying to accommodate the finances and what they're giving us as money. If you need more money, that's a conversation you come to us and say, we need more money, because we'll cut the budget somewhere else to get you the money.
Appreciate that.
Council President, I'm going to speak from my experience here and having come back year after year for overtime funds, because we're short. And we can go to the record. And the city council, we've been told categorically, like, live within your means, don't come back. All right, you can only take that one way as a manager, as an administrator. You're like, live within your budget. All right, so when we come back to the city council and the council president says, we asked for 150 or 200 and we only get 100. So again, you're putting the commission and the mayor between a rock and a hard place. The budget is what it is, and we're, as a commission, doing the best we can, working with the chief and the mayor and the city solicitor to give the best product we can for the citizens of Holyoke. And we're confident with what the plans, what the facts dictate through data, that we're pretty confident that the citizens of the city are going to be protected 24/7.
Again, my only point is that if you weren't getting financially funded correctly by the mayor of this city, then if I was a commissioner, if I was the fire chief, if I was a deputy fire chief, if I was the union president, if I was any inclining of any in the fire department, I would make it public that I am not being funded appropriately. But that's not the case. What you gentlemen are telling me is that it's not about the financial issue. The issue is that we don't need that engine. And that's basically kind of a yes-no question. It's like, if it's a money issue, then tell me it's a money issue. Because I will talk to my colleagues about cutting money somewhere else to get you the money you need to run your department. I understand it. I was a department head. Okay. The executive makes the decisions about who's getting what for money. Well, maybe we can find money that's unnecessarily being spent within our budget. If it's not a financial issue, and it's your decision as the commissioner and as the officers and the chief, which I respect, then I'm fine with that. I don't want to hear that we got to work within our means, and that the president gives us a hard time when we ask for overtime. That doesn't make me feel safe. Tell me that the city's going to be safe, and it's not about the money.
I think one of the common misconceptions was that when we browned out Engine 2, we were shutting down a station. That's not true. There were 2 pumps in one station. So by intermittently browning that out, that created more of an issue of, oh my God, we're burning down a city, nobody's going to respond. That's not true. Engine 1 is sitting there waiting to respond. So I just want to clear that up. So that's why every other firehouse has 1 engine. Headquarters has an engine and a ladder truck, and Station 3 has an engine and a ladder truck. So we're covered.
So, Deputy Chief? Is that, Jeff, I want to call you by the right title. Is that all right? Yeah, so I mean, you're Engine 2 being blacked out, you're amenable to that. And it's not.
You don't want to hear the answer, so.
Well, I do.
I mean, I'm not going to say something that you don't want to hear. So.
Well, I do, because this order's complied with. If I get the 3 of you to tell me that we're gonna black out this engine permanently, and then this.
When the blacking out of the engine is not a decision made by a deputy chief of the Holyoke Fire Department, for one.
But you.
I give my
support.
I give my opinion on what should be done. Whether that's followed through or not is up to the fire commission and the chief.
So you
keep saying that it's not a financial issue, but everything that's going on in this city is a financial issue, Dan. I mean, we have to live within our means. We've been told by the council to live within your means. You say we shouldn't have to deal with that, but we deal with it every day. People have to get paid. They don't do it for free. That's where I'm at.
And still, we have a meeting on the 21st. It's not a foregone conclusion. We're going to have a robust debate. We're going to rehash all the concerns that the union has, and I completely understand what the union's position is. I totally get it. However, we don't represent the union. We represent the city of Holyoke. We represent the administration, the solicitor, and that's by statute, by bylaw, that what we're supposed to do. And that's what we try to do the best that we can.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the SAFER grant, if we have, sorry. Now, instead of hiring, how many firefighters can you put on, 10?
10, yes.
So instead of, I'm just throwing this out, I'm just spitballing, so if we didn't do that, could we have used that money, those monies for engine 2?
I don't follow. No, you have to hire 10 firefighters with the grant.
For employment?
Yes.
Specifically says that?
For 2 years, yes.
For 2 years. Then after 2 years, where are we going to get the money to,
The SAFER grant is there to help cities and municipalities get through difficult financial times, and it gives us a chance to breathe and catch up. So I'm hoping in 2 years, there's enough money to fund the 82 positions.
see, that scares me, hoping. It's one of the things that I would argue against, that it almost puts us behind the 8 ball. Many years ago, I remember Springfield got, I think it was Bill Clinton, put on, it was like it was either 100 police officers in Springfield or 100 police officers throughout the state of Massachusetts. And what happened was they put these, young ladies and young gentlemen on, and then they had to lay off these people because after, that Springfield, they didn't have the monies to fund them. So, we're talking about closing out Engine 2 now because we don't have the funds to man it. What's going to happen 2 years from now when the SAFER grant runs out? Are we going to have to shut down, multiple apparatus? This might just be this just might be the beginning, and I hope it's not the beginning to the end.
Everybody wants a plan. The plan is in front of you. If the city can support the plan, that's the plan. Other than that, I can't make money.
No.
It's up to the city.
And I hear you.
So that's,
No, I hear you. I'm just nervous, and, Mark, I'm going to put this down 2 years from now. I hope that we're not in a much worse shape because of this. But having said that, I think it's been complied with. I'll make a motion for that.
Just quickly. I believe that the motion is complied with too, and I certainly don't want to table it. Just, if you could, give us after you have your robust debate on this issue and all that, could you just please give us a report on the outcome of that debate?
Certainly. And again, it's an open meeting. Anyone's invited to come. And, you people get our minutes. And certainly we invite any counselor at all, at any time, to come into the fire department, to look for the facts that we look at, to look at the deputies are there.
I would just appreciate an update, that's all.
Certainly,
That's all.
certainly.
When is it again? You said Wednesday next
21st at 6 o'clock.
21.
Second on the motions.
I got one question for you.
Counselor Sullivan?
And as far as this discussion, the union is going to be participating in this?
Correct. Again, we have the agenda posted, and certainly this particular item is on the agenda, so we will be talking about it at length.
Okay, I mean, how much say do they have? Is it just like a
They
public comment
certainly will
like
be-
anybody else?
Certainly, if they want to be recognized, the chair will recognize them, and they can have their input just like every other citizen can have their input.
I'll let it go at that.
So
thank you.
quickly, the SAFER grant, is the SAFER grant's intentions to increase fire department staff, or is the SAFER grant's intentions to supplement communities that don't have enough money for the staff?
Yeah, the SAFER grants were initially instituted to help communities get through financial crisis and to hire firefighters, help them retain the numbers, the minimum staffing numbers that they needed to get through budget cycles. That's what we were lucky enough in a very competitive nationwide grant program to get 3 of them to the tune of 30-something firefighters. Where would we be without that?
You think we'll get it again?
We've applied. We look for every opportunity for grants, for equipment, for personnel. We've done tremendous at the national level. Unlike most communities in Massachusetts, we've done really, really well. And I get concerned when people start questioning the merits of the SAFER grant, because where would we be without it? That's the question. We'd be down 30 firefighters asking the council, we'd be closing more than one piece. It would be 2 or 3.
I know, but again, I mean, with the
And these firefighters are retained. Historically, they've been retained because of retirements. We look at that. We project down the future that people are leaving. And those are the numbers that we use when we ask the federal government for money and we apply. We just don't haphazardly ask for a number.
Has that organization put out any sort of notification that it'll no longer be available for supplement firefighters?
No.
Okay.
The funding tree has changed. Where it was 2 years fully funded, 100%, now it's 3 years of a percentage. So it'll be like 75 funded, 35%, 35%. There's more money coming from the community this
We're
year.
going to put all these orders together and say they're complied with very shortly. But, I mean, wouldn't it seem more prudent to, like, say, you know, I need X amount of dollars to run a fire department? And, you know, if you don't like it, then public safety is going to be affected. Because we're getting 10 firefighters from a grant. That money from the grant is going to be decreasing if we don't get it the next time it comes around. It just seems like if you need $1 million to run the fire department, why aren't you screaming and hollering that I need the money? Well, if your answer is to black out an engine, as opposed to saying we're not going to black out an engine, we're gonna put a referendum question on the ballot. We're gonna demand that the mayor supplement. I mean, you guys are not. The mayor can't fire you. Well, I mean, perhaps you. I mean, is that a paid position? No. Right. So you volunteer your time, and that's admirable. But I mean, how could the mayor affect? I mean, he could appoint 3 commissioners that just like I had 3 commissioners at the Board of Health. But ultimately, Jeff, I mean, you're civil service, you're in a union. Mm-hmm. I mean, what damage could you be by banging on the mayor's door and saying, you got to fully fund us? Because there's not a city councilor that doesn't want that funding to be there. We had the arts and crafts director for years at $45,000 a year, the arts director. That is no longer with us, and we don't know why. But he's gone. The $45,000 could have been in the Holyoke Fire Department budget, as opposed to creating some job that lasted 3 years, and whether it worked out or didn't work out, it's gone. I mean, there's probably a lot of positions that the city council could look at much harder. And I'm not being aggressive with you, please. I truly admire what you guys do, Jeff. You know that better than anybody in this room, probably. But I mean, I just think that if I'm missing something, we'll table this. You guys have your meeting on the 20th. We won't table. It's gone. This is the last public hearing we're going to have about it. You're going to have a meeting on the 21st. I probably would have to assume it's going to go through. I don't have a crystal ball. But I mean, I'm just saying this is the last-ditch effort to say, if it's the money issue, then we'll look at the budget closer and see if we can cut more positions, not more positions, but more money somewhere else.
But even if you cut the budget,
not your budget, other budgets.
the other budgets, it doesn't necessarily mean that the money's coming back to the fire department. That comes from the mayor. You guys can cut all you want. I mean, it's got to come from him.
So, in my opinion, it's the mayor's not funding public safety accordingly to what you guys need.
The mayor has been quite clear on his priorities, and certainly public safety is one of them. And so he's the CEO of this city, and you are the executive branch or legislative branch.
Gotcha.
So and we are administrators and managers of this department. So I mean, we have to work with everybody. Going and screaming and yelling at the mayor, in my opinion, is non-productive. We negotiate. We tell him our concerns. The chief here has a bunch of experience. Again, we tell him, we lay for him the facts. Again, it's the mayor's prerogative to fund this city. and make decisions on that. And so we certainly have differences of opinion, but yelling and screaming at the mayor and demanding anything is not part of our way we do business.
And if I may,
I certainly would
the
disagree.
mayor funded every position in this plan. So
But you requested 88 firefighters.
I request 88 every year. I
Well, I
haven't
mean,
gotten 88 since I've been
In the
here.
last budget, I asked you not to do that.
I requested $600,000 overtime in the
I know.
beginning, and the
I
city
mean,
council cut some money.
and I read that, and I look at it. No,
Early on when I first started here, there was cuts.
But when I look at
City
88
council cuts.
firefighters, I'm under the impression that we need 88 firefighters. So, I mean, if we don't need 88 firefighters, don't ask for 88 firefighters.
So here's the plan. This is after the fact.
So you're telling me that next year there will not be 88 firefighters requested for the
There will be
budget?
this plan requested if it's approved.
Are you gonna ask for 88 firefighters next year?
This plan will be requested if it's approved.
Does that plan require 88 firefighters?
82.
So the answer would be no. You're not
Correct.
gonna request for 88 firefighters. And if the SAFER grant doesn't come through,
That's up to the city and how they want to fund those positions.
right, I mean, it's just, you know,
Yeah, I mean.
Counselor,
how you
we're
gonna
doing
fund
our due
88?
diligence.
I know, listen, I know,
Can't
but
find
We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know if we're getting them or not. It's a very competitive process. We've been very, very lucky.
Counselor Green, and then let's move on.
Ultimately, we're talking about funding and we're talking about this. The bottom line is, there's 39,000 residents out there. They're the ones who are paying the freight. We're not paying the freight. The mayor's not paying the freight. Ultimately, they're funding the fire department. They're funding the police department and every other department in this city. We're responsible to them. So basically speaking, if the SAFER grant doesn't come through, then that money is going to be passed on to the taxpayer. The taxpayers are not going to want a tax increase. So this whole ball of wax rolls downhill. It's a snowball that rolls downhill. The bottom line is, I feel you guys have complied with these orders, and that's the last thing I'm going to say about it.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
There's only 2 more orders that might affect you folks. Make a motion to take order 7 off the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Order that the fire chief pond request the ISO to provide in writing whether or not the closing of Engine 2 will impact our ISO rating.
I have no problem doing that. I can make a request of that. And I will copy you on the request.
Make a motion to table it then.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Item number 8, take a motion to take off the table.
Second.
Let me just read. I'm just going to read this publicly. This will probably have no impact on you folks. Due to the potential blackout of the fire department engine, order that the ISO mitigation conduct a new survey to determine if this blackout will negatively impact the city of Holyoke. I would make a motion to give this leave to withdraw.
I'll make a motion to give leave of withdrawal.
Second.
And I'm only going to do that because I'm going to file a different motion to have that done through the mayor's office. Another order that you folks might want to touch upon is item 4, if we could get a motion to take it off the table.
Make a motion to take it off the table.
Second.
All in favor? Jourdain filed the order that the mayor appoint a resident of Ward 1 or Ward 2 to the fire commission as soon as possible. Besides the fire truck for downtown being browned out, it appears the commission seats have been browned out too for the residents of the lower wards. The mayor recently appointed a resident of Ward 7 to vacate the seat formerly held by Ms. Devine. The mayor should recognize that, appoint a resident who can be a voice for the residents of Ward 2. I apologize, I can read pretty well, it's just the way this on the table. And what I'm going to do, gentlemen, is I'm going to make a motion to table this because there's not a representative for the mayor. You guys have no say on that. So if you want to speak to it, you're more than welcome to, but I'm going to ask for a motion to table it, and we're not even going to go down that road unless you decide to.
I make a motion to table it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The last order that I'm going to table as well, but I'm going to read it to you just so you're aware of. I'm going to ask the mayor at our next full city council meeting that the funds be provided to allow for an independent company to audit the Holyoke Fire Department. This should include an audit of the entire department, their staffing size, and to determine the size and amount of apparatus is appropriate to maintain the safety of the citizens of the city of Holyoke. There's about $90,000 left in your overtime, and I'm just gonna tell you this right now, approximately. I mean, you know, there's many communities, including Springfield, Chelsea, and other communities that have had this independent audit done. It runs about $15,000 to $25,000. I'm gonna ask that the mayor transfer the money from your overtime budget into this audit study to be done. Whether or not you brown it out or whatever you guys do on the 21st, that's fine. That's really on you and your decision, and I'm okay with that. But I am gonna ask for that money to be allocated out of your overtime budget.
I think that's a great idea.
Support that, 100%.
Okay, great. And I think that'll basically kind of make everybody in a better position. The Public Safety Committee, the fire commissioners, and all the staff. And we get somebody to do an independent audit on whether or not what has been decided or will be decided is the right way to go. Okay? Gentlemen, I don't want to say I love the fire department, but I do, and I respect you guys a lot. I'm sorry, Chief, we've kind of gone at each other a little heavy, and I apologize for that to any of you and all the staff. It's not about that. I mean, it's just about, like, kind of seeing the innuendos. You know, I don't want, it's not your office in the police chief's office is not about financial matters. It's about public safety. If you need the money, ask for it. We'll try to get it.
Counselors, as I said, I appreciate your time, but I'm always available if you want to have a cup of coffee or anything. Come meet me at the fire station. I can walk you around, show you what's going on there. We have a lot of good things going on in the fire department and more to come. And I appreciate all your efforts and looking through all of our budgets and making sure everything's good. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you on behalf of the citizens, most important.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Four is tabled.
I make a motion to pick up item number 9.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Order number 9 is that the city and council invite our DPW superintendent, treasurer, and tax collector to discuss the progress made on collecting default sewer fees and give a report on the success of the new lien program in that process. Michael, how are you? Thank you for coming. It's a long day. I drove by the DPW on my way somewhere and I saw the vehicle down there, so I know you probably stayed there and ate there and didn't see the family, so thanks for coming.
Andy was here last night, too.
2 nights in a row.
2 nights in a row, right? 3 nights in a row.
3 nights.
You're like Elvis Presley.
More ways than one.
So you get the gist of it. How is the sewer fees liens going?
I hear from Bellamy that our collections are doing great, that we're making progress. You know, every year, what we do is we lien any sewer bill that's greater than $200. We put that on a tax lien, and it's a way of getting paid. The money's back. Currently, there's a little over $420,000 that are on the tax title lien list for sewer.
420,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not just for last year. I mean, this goes back to 2008 for some of the properties.
Mike, what's the biggest, is there a biggest offender?
It varies. I mean, there's one for $261. I saw one in here that was for $14 from previous years where the amount was, we'll say, $764, and somebody made a $750 payment. So there's still
I mean, is
money
there anything
left.
that's out there that really catches your
Yeah,
eye.
I mean, there's some that are years old, where it's at $16,000.
Can you tell us who that is?
I'm not there's one for $10,000. It's on Ingleside Avenue.
It's a home?
I'm not really sure.
What does it say?
I would feel weird saying it over the air, just because it's some person. You know, I don't want to air any dirty laundry
And,
at this.
Fair enough.
Form.
well, let's just, we got one for $16,000. How old is that?
It's multiple years. It's 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, and 17.
This is 9 years old. And
And
it's,
it adds up. So 1 year it'll be 1,000, 1,500, 1,700, 600, 700, and over the years, it's added up. Now, odds are, this property isn't just delinquent with sewer. They're also delinquent with water, they're delinquent with their property taxes. There could be other liens placed on them by the Board of Health. So I'm not sure where this single property is in the grand scheme of things.
And the city can't take legal action against them after 9 years?
There's a certain point where the city can start to take legal action, and I'm not really well versed in that. That's more with the solicitor's office. They actively go after properties that they can in order to capture those back taxes.
I thought you were an attorney.
Pardon?
I thought you were an attorney.
Yeah, no.
so it's safe to say of this $420,000, probably a good chunk of it is uncollectible at this point?
Of course.
It could be that a good chunk of it is uncollectible, where you have other properties. We've got 2003, 4, 5, through
Well, if I was to take just this one property, for example, are they still using water? Or is the water bill just a minimum $5 a month bill going out at this point?
I wouldn't expect that it's a $5 a month based on their sewer being at $1,700 a year. But I can't answer that question whether or not they're still active today. They were placed on lien last year.
Okay. But they still have water service right now, as we speak?
I'm not sure. I don't know if today they have water service. We do about $6 million worth of billing every year. And our lien, what we lien about $400,000 every year on average.
Counselor Lee?
So we owe $420,000 uncollectible. Why don't we, as Michael asked, and you'd answer that pretty much a lot of that is uncollectible. Why don't we just go to a collector's agency and, even if we get X amount on the dollar, that's still, probably 5 times or 10 times, 10X what we'd be getting anyway. Why don't we do that? I mean, we have $420,000 of potential income. What if we get some of that? It's better than none of that.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for why we don't use a
Would that be?
collection agency.
Would you be the person I talk? Or we? Who
We
would do
could-
that?
We could look into using a collection agency for DPW,
Yeah,
and for the sewer.
not for something for $300 or Mrs. Mom or Pa type of thing.
Right.
But you're indicating 10,000, 14,000. That's where it really adds up quickly.
Right, but also, if they're into DPW for $10,000, odds are they're into water for something similar. They could be into gas and electric for something similar, property taxes.
It could be, but you're only focused on this. So let's
Right.
just focus, the other department heads can focus on their money. Let's try to get as much money as we can. And the second thing, a good way to make up money fast is, the sewer minimum is what, $5?
Correct.
And the water minimum is $25?
Correct.
Why don't we put those 25 and 25?
We could certainly do that. I don't know the last time the sewer minimum has been changed. I think it's been like that for a
Yeah,
very
I looked
long
into that
time.
just the other day. I was shocked to see the water's 25 and sewer's 5. So if you're using 25, I mean, sewer's always more expensive than water, right?
Correct.
Still trying to figure that one out, but, so water's 25 and sewer's 5, so the minimum due is $30 a month, or a quarter. Is it a quarter or a month?
It is a quarter.
It's a quarter. All right, that's just some of the thoughts I had.
No, we would like to do that.
I'm not sure if I would vote for it, but I'm spitballing some ideas now.
We've talked about that in the office, about raising the minimum. There are a number of customers who are on the minimum. I don't think it would push the needle that much,
No?
but it's something.
Yeah. Well, if we're raising, revenues and we're decreasing the collectibles, they could finally maybe be in a happy medium and maybe we can get an additional 100,000, 200,000.
And if it hasn't been raised in 20 years, then it might be time.
Yeah. And we can certainly put that underneath Councilor Breslin's name.
Counselor Bacon?
Thank you. So Mike, thanks for coming down. And what is the collection rate for the sewer bills at this point?
So it's, I think it's around 6% is what we don't collect.
So 90
94. 90 plus.
plus percent. And we know at the Water Commission, it's 97%. And a year ago, just to remind my colleagues, we had the whole discussion about the liens and how we can't do anything about collecting the money on the liens until something's done with the property. And if they're foreclosed on, taken in tax title, gone. So all these old monies that sit there, it's great that we file the lien, but we don't get the money. And that's why we went ahead with doing the combined billing, so we can shut the water off for failure to pay sewer. And I would safely speculate that a lot of these sewer bills that are huge are paying their water bill, because the water company would have shut off their water if they weren't paying the water bill. That was one of the bases for the vote we took a year ago to combine the billing. And I know there's a proposal out there.
Yeah.
You folks are looking at it at DPW. Those of us who were part of creating that and making it happen after much debate and back and forth about whether it was legal or not, are really interested in making that become active, because it will then save all the money of having to go and file the liens, because the people will pay the sewer because they want to keep their water. Right now, they pay one side of the bill, in essence, and throw the other one away. They're two separate bills. But the whole, I hope that whatever stumbling blocks exist between the contract that the Water Commission has proposed and the concerns that DPW Commission and you have will get ironed out so that we make this happen. I think the fact that it happens will in and of itself improve the collections another 3% on the sewer side. I truly do. Just the fact of doing it, I think, will make a huge difference. I understand the hesitation on the water side to incur any extra costs, and I understand the concern on the DPW side in the same way, but we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on the liens. And this is a new and different attempt to stop that particular bleeding. So a lot of debate and discussion went on, and I urge people to give it a try. We can always tweak it and fix it if it's not perfect, but if we never try it, I think what you're seeing is just going to continue, because why would it change? Thank you.
And we did talk about it last night.
Right.
At the budget hearing. It is something that we'll pick back up and work through.
Thank you.
I'd accept the motion as orders complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to take item number 10 off the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Order that the DPW repair the sidewalks at 31 Washington Ave and 74 Lawler Street.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Well,
There's a sidewalk list.
there's a sidewalk list. There's a bond proposal.
Yeah.
That's in Finance Committee now, where we've identified a couple $1 million worth of roads, traffic lights, and sidewalks. We always use CDBG for sidewalks in CDBG eligible areas. We're going to do so again this year. And if I'm not sure if these are in CDBG areas, but if they're not, we'll find some way to take care of these trip hazards.
So am I safe saying the order's complied with because it's going to get done?
It will get done this year.
Make a motion, it's been complied with.
All in favor?
Right?
Make a motion, take up item 11 off the table. Second.
11?
We just did that, didn't we?
No, we just did it.
Oh, second?
Order that the DPW provide a report of the safety of the skylights for the DPW drop-off center.
So the old trolley barn that is DPW headquarters now has skylights in 9 bays. The drop-off center occupies 2 of those bays, bays 5 and 6. The skylights, I believe, are original to the building. They're in a compromised condition. They're old leaded glass. They're safety glass that has a mesh inside, but a good number of them are cracked. There have been pieces that have fallen out and down to the floor below in the past. And the skylights are held in by a metal frame. We're in the process now of talking with an engineer to come and take a look at the skylights, take a look at the roofs, the rest of the building envelope. There's some places where rebar has gotten corroded and has popped the concrete on the outside, so we have exposed rebar on our doors. And then there's other ventilation issues. What we'd like to do is come up with an estimate in total to repair the building envelope at DPW headquarters and move forward from there in terms of trying to get a bond or funding to do the work. There's a number that's been thrown around of $1.6 million for the roof. I'm not exactly sure where the number came from. I think Bill had a square foot number for roofing, and he applied that to the surface area of the roof to come up with that 1.6 number.
Make a motion, it's been complied with.
Wait 1 second, so there's no ultimate safety hazard at this point? I mean, could you go up there and tack on a piece of plywood to cover the skylights if they're falling down?
So what we've done on very hazardous skylights is remove the glass and put in a piece of Lexan. It's not ideal because it doesn't address the frame, the metal frame of the skylight, doesn't address the drainage issues on the roof. There's leaks that come in through the roof drains. And there is a cost associated with replacing probably over 1,000 skylight windows.
In the, just
Well,
in the bus
individual windows, yeah. Well, not for those 2 bays, I'm saying for the entire DPW building.
Know anybody in construction or
Well, if we get the building maintenance and demolition supervisor, that could be a job for him.
Good plug, I like that. Do you know offhand the square footage of the roof?
I don't have it off.
Well, one thing, just to make you aware, there are groups out there now that come in and are willing to replace the roofs, put the roof repairs on in exchange for the rights to put solar arrays up there. Is that something you've looked into?
No, I haven't seriously looked into that. It's a conversation piece.
Okay,
that
yeah,
we
just,
mentioned. Yeah, and I mean, the building is one city block.
Right.
There's some area
A
there.
company called Sullivan Solar.
What's the address of that building?
No,
63
there is
Canal
not.
Street, 63.
Let's not put
So
anything
you'd
out
be
there.
interested in that? So if a company came in and removed the lights, they could use that's for solar?
We could start a conversation.
Yeah, right, you're up for a
Yeah.
conversation on anything, Mike,
Right.
right?
That
I mean, you're,
That would be awesome.
We would, if it would benefit the city.
right, it would cost us nothing, you'll talk to anybody,
Right.
right? Mike's been great.
All right, make a motion to confirm it, or not confirm it, but complied with.
Mike is a DPW director.
Yeah.
Well, we still don't have a report. Or, I'm sorry, the order was to provide a report on the state, unless you're saying this is a report.
I thought that was a verbal report.
Yep.
That works for me.
I mean, if he's not satisfied, we can just,
Do it again.
and,
But we're
I'm sorry, he's not here, and everybody gets his agenda, and it's like, you know,
we're seriously looking at this, because it's not just a safety issue for the public, but it's safety for our workers.
yeah, you got the guys in and out of there all the time. I use that place all the time. Library books, propane tanks, tires, refrigerators. I mean, how that is not a licensed transfer station is a miracle. I know, exactly. Bill said the same thing.
All right,
So,
I make,
motion on the table is to comply with?
yep.
All
No,
in
not to
favor?
table, to pass.
It's, comply with.
Use it to table.
Did I say the table?
Yeah.
Did I say the table? Is there a second on I said the table? So the motion on the floor is that it's been complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to take item number 12.
Second?
Thank you. Item number 12 is that the DPW look into ways to improve Ogden Street and report back to the city council. This is an unpaved roadway, and residents in that area would like to see the road paved ASAP.
Trying to get a map. There is a portion of Ogden Street that is unpaved. It's in between, Homestead Ave and Lorraine.
What's the distance, Mike?
It's about 800 feet. It goes behind a couple houses. We've looked at it. I'm sorry, it's not 800. It's 400. The next one, Wall Road, is 800 feet. We think it would cost approximately $15,000 to construct a road.
1,000?
Yeah. And that's with the, with the sub base and the pavement.
Is that anything CBG money would be?
No, I believe this would be outside of that. It would be new construction. I don't believe Chapter 90 would be applicable.
Is that that's a legal street or?
And that's, no. Well, since it isn't a street, it hasn't been accepted.
So could we accept it as a street and that would help?
We'd have to build a street first, and then we can accept it. This could be back on that bond where we had some additional money for road improvements, and we could construct a road here. I mean, it would connect Lorraine to Homestead in another location. I mean, it could create a problem for these homeowners by having a cut through.
That's the next complaint you'll get. Cars are cutting through.
Right, so right now, it's a dirt road behind people's houses. If we build a road there, it will invite traffic.
Have the residents been contacted?
And it sounds like it's a resident request to put a road there.
A resident or several resident, or we don't know that?
We don't know that. It looks like there would be 3 people who would be adjacent to this road. All of these houses already have road access. You know, it would mean that somebody could get to their house from either Homestead or Ogden.
So is there driveway on Homestead?
To me, that is it gonna create more problems by doing it than not doing it?
Is there,
That's what I'm trying to kind
Well,
of
I mean,
figure out.
I think the, you know, just the maker of the order wanted to look into ways of improving it. It's gonna cost us $15,000. The maker of the order now has to request that $15,000 be allocated to do this, if that's what he wants to get done. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah.
Okay. Order, complied.
Make a motion it's been complied with.
Second.
All in favor? Make a motion to take to 13.
I'd make a motion to take a 13 off the table.
Order that the city council consider accepting Wall Road as a city street and determine who currently owns it.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Vacant, your order, please.
Thank you. This was a constituent request. It came up along the time the solar company wanted to put the solar field in there, and there was a lot of upset in the neighborhood because that's where the access was going to be. And I believe the request came along in that time frame. But it is a dirt road, and it's a very narrow road. So I put it through on that basis for review. And nobody knew who owned the road either.
So I still don't know who owns the road. I know it's not accepted as a road.
Right.
It is a dirt road, or millings is what we put down. Millings are when they grind up the old roads. We take that material because it's nice and it compacts real well. So we can put it down and we can compact it, and it holds up better than just regular gravel.
There was a family that resides on Walnut.
Correct.
Pardon?
Right.
Have they been contacted? There is a family that resides on Walnut.
Oh, there's more
I
than
know.
one. There's more than one.
Yeah. So have they been contacted?
It was a resident of the road that requested this. But nobody knew who even owned the road. But I think it was because they were envisioning the solar people coming in and out of the road.
Is that solar project still going
To my
forward?
knowledge, that's not happening.
I mean, we plow. We use it to collect garbage, and we do maintain it with the millings, where we would go in and regrade after the winter season. The cost, if we were to turn it into an asphalt road, would be $20,000. 20?
But it is wide enough and meets all the other criteria to be a road?
Yeah, we would make it 60
You could
feet wide.
make that happen. So, yeah, so the other question was the ownership, whether the cemetery owned it, whether the owners went down to the middle of the road, or whether their land goes across the entire road was a separate question. But
Right, if we were to pave it, we would want to own it. We would want to take ownership, have it be an accepted street.
okay. Thank you. From my perspective, it's complied with. Other than the ownership, but it would become the city-owned if it was to become a street.
Right.
Okay.
Move that it's complied with?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
Motion to take item 14 off the table.
Second.
Order that the city council consider the acceptance of all private ways in the city of Holyoke as public ways.
So I think the intent of this is to increase our Chapter 90 funding. One of the parts of the formula for Chapter 90 is the total mileage of accepted roads in the municipality. And what this would do is increase the mileage of accepted roads. But we have to be careful when we do that we're not accepting a crappy road that we're going to immediately have to fix. We also have to take a look at the utilities in the road. What condition are they in, if it's a truly private road? And also the width, to make sure that it meets standards. So what we're starting to do is develop a list of all of the unaccepted roads, and then we can go and look at each one and rate it on a case-by-case basis on whether or not it justifies being accepted.
When you formulate this list, Mike, and you get the total mileage, put a dollar amount to that, the benefit to the city in terms of money,
We would be able
as
to,
opposed to any detriments to the city.
we would be able to calculate how much more we would get in Chapter 90 based on this.
So it could increase our Chapter 90 funding.
Yeah, it would. Any new road that we add will increase our Chapter 90 funding.
So the order here is all private roads. I take it some of them are private because they're owned by an individual property owner or group. We try to do that, we're looking at probably multiple lawsuits as well.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and
And some people might not want to give up their private road.
right, that's what I'm getting at, yeah. Also, now on a private road, the sewer and water, the maintenance of a sewer line or a water line is the responsibility of the owner.
Typically,
If we took it, we would be assuming the responsibility for some 150-year-old water lines and sewer lines.
that's my understanding, yeah.
Thanks, I just want to make sure that's out there for the public to understand also.
Dan?
Counselor Bacon and
I seem to remember, and maybe you could reach out to Bill Fuqua, I seem to remember within the last 2 years, this list was developed. And we reviewed it in committee. And most recently, we talked about a private way off of School Street where there were a lot of liability concerns because it was too narrow and a lot of other type of things. I mean, just before you go and make the whole list all over,
good.
there's something that makes me think it's in the office somewhere. That's all.
Thank you.
That wasn't that long ago,
I don't think so.
no, because I think I was on the
I think it was a couple years ago, but
a road, say a private road. Now, how about Dingle Road? Dingle Road, it's over at the end of Pearl Street.
Yeah.
Would that be considered a private road? Does the city own that? I mean, that road is in disarray. I mean, it looks like it needs a lot of work.
I'm not exactly sure who owns Dingle Road. I mean, there's no house that's connected to Dingle
Right,
Road.
I know that. It goes,
It goes from Pearl to Nonotuck.
Pearl to Nonatuck.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That very well could be one of the private ways that Kevin was referring to and accepting.
But it would be that type of situation.
Yeah. But it also could be, is it University Apartments? I mean, they have a driveway that goes through
Yeah.
back to Jarvis. Would you consider that driveway as a potential road?
right.
So, just for example, a half a mile of private road would, or a mile, would generate how much in Chapter 90 funds?
I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not.
Can you
There's,
give me a
it's
ballpark,
not just a footage in the formula. They also look at economical impacts, population. So there's a couple components.
Could you give me a ballpark range?
I don't.
All right,
I wouldn't trust a number that I give you.
okay.
so you're considering it?
Yeah, and this, I mean, if you want to table this, so we can come back in a couple months to.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to take up item 15,
Second.
that the DPW provides the city council with the amount it cost on average per year for the last 4 years on signage requests by the council. This was a constituent request. So how much of damage are we doing?
About $3,500
A year?
That's it?
Yeah, we do it in-house, so we just have to buy the materials.
We gotta start getting more signs. You should have said 35,000, you'd never have another sign to put up.
So the reason I filed this is
Thanks, Linda, yeah, thank you.
somebody in the Elmwood section of Holyoke was driving from Kmart, and they drove down to Montom, and they said, you know, the dense amount of signs in the Elmwood section, it's overwhelming to this person. She said, if I actually looked at every sign, I wouldn't be looking at the street. That would cause in itself an accident. And so she was like, how much of taxpayers' money are going in? So I'm like, I don't know, but I can file this for you and get back to you. Because you know what I'm saying, right? Down here.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, and I totally agree that it does seem like there's a lot of signs out
Are
there.
there any way to declutter it? Because I think that if you decluttered it and either made maybe two different directional things on one sign, maybe, it'd be easier to see. Because they're kind of just like, they're kind of just mixed and matched. You know, none of the signs really have uniform. I mean, this has nothing to do with you because they've been around for 20 years.
Right, and it grows. It's like a sign creep.
Yeah. And it just doesn't, A, doesn't look good. It's not aesthetically pleasing. And B, nobody even looks at it.
Right. It's also something that Dave Bartley had mentioned one time to, as you were saying, see if there's a way to declutter
Yeah.
the amount of signs
Is
out
there a
there.
way? I mean, is there a way
Yeah,
to look? You know, before you were joking about a report, but is there something you could go back and look at and maybe come back to us?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll
Yeah,
make a
we
motion
can-
to table this. And on the sign issue, is this Dale Street sign gone up yet?
I'm not sure.
Up near the college, up near that?
I don't know.
All right. That was passed, all right.
It was passed last week.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it was just last week, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I make a motion to table this.
Well, would you consider filing a new order because this order's been complied with? Will we just ask for a dollar amount, what it's costing?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I'll have to file a new order. Yeah, so this has been complied with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye. Accept the motion to take item 16 off the table.
Second.
All in favor? Item 16 is that the DPW immediately advise the city council on whether the temporary speed bumps are located, where the temporary speed bumps are located, and develop a schedule of when and where they will be used. Further, the mayor consider purchasing additional sets of temporary speed bumps.
So I found the list that we have of the speed hump requests. I brought it to one of the previous ordinance committee meetings, but I have it here for you as well. There is a process with the speed humps where a request is made. We go out and do an initial traffic study. If the speed of traffic is found to be 10 miles per hour or more greater than the speed limit, then it would warrant installing a speed hump. And the next step would be to put in the temporary speed humps and do a traffic study at the same time to see if the speed humps have any effect on traffic calming. And if it does, then we would recommend permanent speed humps. There has to be a public hearing, and then city council would pass an order because speed humps are by ordinance. We have 2 sets of temporary speed humps at DPW, and we only have 1 traffic counter. And we also we have need for more than 1 traffic counter. If we're gonna have 2 sets of speed humps out, we'd need at least 2 traffic counters, and then we could probably have a third one somewhere else looking at traffic in another area. And so we did get some quotes for traffic counters. I think at the beginning of next fiscal year, we're gonna buy another 1 or 2 traffic counters.
So is that means, right, July 30th is the end of this fiscal year, so,
Yeah.
okay. So you're gonna buy another one, or two more
I'm
counters?
thinking two, yeah.
What ballpark on price?
It's about $3,000. And then as far as the schedule for the speed humps, Old Ferry Road was found to have excessive speeding. So we're going to put the temporary speed humps out there and do a traffic study.
So do you put the, so do you just get a complaint about speeding, and then you put the temporary ones out,
Well, we get the complaint, we do a study,
being the traffic counter, or?
the traffic counter. It measures the speed of every car, and it records it. And then if, it's called the 85th percentile, if there's excessive speeding on the road, then we would put in the speed humps and see if there's any traffic calming. Speed humps might not do anything, people might still fly over them, and we'd need to do something else. And that whole process is in the ordinances.
So, I think this is compliant with,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Right?
It's difficult when the makers of the orders don't, either show up or respond to, the agenda when it goes out a week before even this meeting, so I get their thoughts.
Make a motion to take up item 16 off the table.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm sorry, 17, rather.
17.
Item 17 is order that the American flag located on the corner of Hamden and Linden Street and all city flags be illuminated at night as required by the United States Flag Code.
So I'm not sure if we own that flag.
Right across from Danny O'Connell's building.
Yeah.
Okay.
Based on the map geo that the city has, it looks like it's in the state's right of way. So,
How about the one, I filed an order some time ago to have up at the community field, that, the beautiful American flag, there's no light on it. Maybe there is now. Do you know what,
I thought we took that down.
you took the flag down?
I thought we take it down
Yeah,
at the end of each day.
at night when I used to go skating, there'd be a guy that would come at night and take it down.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that might just be when they're skating. When there's no skating, that field house isn't manned.
It's not manned. So in that matter, we would need to put a light on, otherwise we'll be out of compliance.
Yeah, and we can
Do that?
do that, yeah.
I was always under the impression that Dan O'Connell owned that property across from the building.
I was too, but the city's map geo, the software that we have, where you can look at parcel information, it showed it was part of the state's.
Do you have someone at the state, I'll make the order comply with if you have someone at the state that we could,
Yeah, we'll-
discuss via email. I can remind you, you can see if there's something they can do.
Yeah, I'll reach out to the state.
Right around the corner from Representative Vegas' house.
I thought you were gonna say Griffins.
What's that?
All right, so I'd accept a motion that's complied with.
Sorry. Make a motion, take item number 18 off the table?
Second?
Or that the mayor's office provide the city council a copy of the contract between the new ambulance service currently operating on South Street with the
Hey,
city.
thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for coming, I appreciate it. And the city of Holyoke and all other parties involved. I believe we all got this contract via email.
Yep. All right, so I make a motion that's been complied with.
Second?
All in favor?
Make a
Aye.
motion to take item 19 off the table.
Second?
Order that the city council through the public safety committee look into the property at 135 Lincoln Street to make sure it is up to code, handicap accessible, handicap rooms, fire, smoke, and carbon monoxide detectors, and parking and traffic problems that might arise because it is a shared driveway.
I can speak to that. I have an email or correspondence from the owner of Ben Powell. Well, magical. And it's stated on this email that the residence at this time is only going to be used for private appointment for people to come in and see the sexual archives that are going to be displayed there. And further down at the email, it says, after our nonprofit, the SMEF, which is the Sexual Minorities Educational Foundation Incorporated, conducts fundraising to purchase a wheelchair ramp for the house, a campaign that will take several months to a year to achieve its goal. I will contact you or Ward 7 representatives to let you know when the SMA would like to begin to open to the public. So basically, my order is, well, it's premature, but I was under the impression it was going to be open to the public, which is why I filed the order. So that's fine, it's not open to the public at this time. When it is going to be open to the public, as long as it's up to code and these requirements are met, I have no problem with it. So I don't know if you want to table it or what you want to do. I suppose we could table it until it's ready to be open.
Well, if you look on Facebook here, it looks like a party there. Jan 7th.
Well, see, it says here, according to this, that they're going to, the owner anticipates, or the curator of the archives says, I anticipate to be able to schedule appointments to visit the SMA beginning in the spring of 2016. Well, we're now the spring of 2017, and I don't know if it's up to code or, so I really haven't heard anything.
Because right now it says, an overflow crowd gathered at Holyoke to celebrate the grand reopening of the Sexual Minorities Archive and the opening of the library in the Sylvia Rivera Room on June 3rd, with fist in the air in memory of those a long fight against landlords and things. June 3rd, first open home.
Well, then, I would imagine that this would go to the building code department
Oh, that's probably true, yeah.
to make a motion to send it to make sure that they're up to compliance for a public archive is what it is. I don't know if if you would refer to it as a museum or and it's an educational facility.
Well, this was what kind of party?
It was just a celebration. I was just reading out loud.
I mean, is it really being used as a nonprofit, or is, I mean...
Well, according to this, the goal is to eventually make it a nonprofit.
Well, eventually is one thing, but if they're not paying property taxes as a nonprofit...
They are. From what I understand, they are paying property taxes.
All right,
And that's not an issue.
all right.
The issue is, if it's going to be open to the public, it needs to have handicap facilities, a ramp. It has to be accessible.
I think we should table it.
Yeah, let's make a motion to table it.
All right, we'll table it until we get more information, but maybe we should send a letter to,
I think we should table it and have Cody come in next meeting. Want the information.
that's fine. Sure, we can have the building inspector come in and let us know.
Okay. Second.
All in favor?
All right,
Accept the motion to take number 620 off the table.
Second.
Order that the planning department provide the public safety committee an independent report with regard to 160 Water Street. Information report should be provided within 2 weeks. I would accept the motion to table this.
Make a motion to table it.
Well, I'd like to make a couple of
Oh,
comments on
sure,
this, too.
of course.
This one's, 160 Water Street's been before us several times through several venues. This is now a city-owned property. It's been up for auction, no bidders. There are currently people interested in it. They've been trying to work through the economic development office, but it still remains a horribly blighted, drug-infested, and contaminated piece of property. So that much we do know about it. And I think this is one that we really need to push forward in a much more aggressive manner than we have so far.
I mean, it's the kiddies, the committee's flavor, but I mean, I just, Todd, I didn't speak to Todd with respect to this order. You know more about it than I do. I mean, we can table it, we can comply it and refile it, have the police department get involved. I mean, the planning department didn't show up, so I'd like to table it and have them make an appearance.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just wanted to throw that in so we put a little more pressure on them to get something going on it. And it's not just the planning department, it's economic development as well.
Motion to table?
Yeah, motion table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Jimmy, that's yours.
Make a motion to take it off the table.
Second.
All in favor?
all right.
Yeah, so the reason I filed this order in regards to truancy is I think we all need to know as city councilors or elected officials here, what are the truancy rates in this city? Right now, the city of Holyoke is in a receivership for one reason only, is because of test scores. I think it's awful and it's unfair to blame the test scores on the teachers if the children are not in the seats. If the children are not in the seats, they cannot learn, and therefore taking standardized testing is just, it's a lose-lose situation. I think that we need, going back in the day where they had truancy officers, making sure that children were in school. I think we have to go back to something very strict. And seeing, I'm not sure if Ryan, I didn't get a chance to talk to him about this order, but seeing the, Stephen Dreik's not here, Chief of Police isn't here, nobody's here. I'd make a motion to table it. Sure, you can speak to it, but.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to this motion because I filed at the last city council meeting in order that we receive the test scores, because the test scores from the time the receivership has taken over the public schools, because the primary reason for the takeover was the performance of our children in the schools, the academic performance. So I'd like to run a cross-section, about the test scores 2 to 3 years prior to the takeover of the receivership to the 2.5, I believe, is it 2.5 years since the receiver has taken over, to see how the test scores have improved. And the truancy rate, and all these are factors, from what I understand too, the tardy, youngsters coming in tardy. I don't know what time of day they consider that a student is late. But, you hear different stories, and I'd like to hear from the receiver about a lot of these different issues, deportment, certainly test scores, and a lot of other things, which he was very good. He was in to address the council last week when we had the educational budget hearing. But I'd like to get some more information and find out just exactly how our kids are doing. Certainly, we want to welcome the receiver in here, but we want to take back our schools, and I think student achievement is the primary goal for us to be able to do that. Thank you.
Motion on the floor is that it's tabled.
Second,
All in favor?
all right.
No further items except the motion to meeting's adjourned.
I'd like to stay all night.
All in favor?
All right.
doctor told me that I should reduce, ask me what I do. I told him on a daily basis, you know, this board, that board, this board, and he said, no, I asked for a week, not a month. I said, no, this is exactly